Welcome to this webinar about women in officiating. Today, the webinar is about motivation and inspiration. We will have three top referees with us today. We are very happy to have them today with us. From left to right, you can see Maj FORSBERG, Lauren HOLTKAMP-STERLING, and Özlem YALMAN. We will just talk about the program a little bit. So we will have the opening of the session. Please put your questions in the Q&A box and we will read your questions. If you have a question for a person specifically, just write the name. If it's for Lauren, Özlem, or Mai, just put the name, or if it's for everybody. And then you can also raise your hand if you want to ask your questions directly to our speakers. Then we will have some polling quiz activities, and most of the session will be about the question and answers that you have, the questions you have for our panelists. And then they will also introduce themselves and talk about their career and how they reached the highest level. So we had the webinar last month to celebrate the International Women's Day and to present the FIBA initiatives for female officials. We have to, one of the goals is to increase the visibility of female officials. And for this, we use role models. And today we have the great pleasure to be with Lauren HOLTKAMP-STERLING, who is on the picture on the left, and Maj FORSBERG and Özlem YALMAN, a picture on the right. There is Yasmina Yuras also on the picture, who is a great referee. And they will explain how they have sweated a lot to reach the level where they are now, and what they did to make it to the top level. Because they are female referees, but first and foremost, they are top level referees, and they will explain how they reached this level. So before we start the session, we will have a few words about Mr. Carl Jungerbrand, who is the FIBA head of refereeing. I pass the floor to you, Carl.
Thank you, Aurélie. Welcome, everybody, on behalf of the FIBA Referee Operations to this today's Women in Officiating webinar session. Like our Secretary Generals mentioned in the last time when we had the Women in Officiating webinar, this is one of the pillar for the FIBA strategy for the next 4 years. Not only 4 years, but it will continue for sure. Namely women in basketball. And, you know, we at the Referee Ops, we always saying that we give chance for all the good referees to actually shine and show their skills. Now with the women in officiating, we want to just make sure that all unused potential will be used and recognized as well. So with this few words, I would like to welcome you again. And I really would like to thank in advance for the team who was behind this session at the FIBA RefOps, like Aurélie, Petri, Armando. And obviously, I really would like to thank and appreciate the participation of the Özlem, Mai, and Lauren. So enjoy the session. Back to you, Aurélie.
So now we're going to start with a little video. Last month, we had a video with The Girl is on Fire. And then now we will have another video that shows our guests in action on the court.
You can tell by the way she walks that she's my girl. You can tell by the way she talks, she rules her words. You can see in her eyes that no one is her chain. She's my girl, my super girl. And then she say it's okay, I got lost on the way, but I'm a super girl, and super girls don't cry. And then she say it's alright, I got home late last night, but I'm a super girl, and super girls just fly.
we will continue now with the presentation of Miss Özlem YALMAN, who is a FIBA referee and BCL referee. So before she introduces herself, we will have a little poll, but please put your answers in the chat box. For the first poll, please put your answers in the chat box. We will have it on the next slide. So what kind of games does Özlem regularly officiate in Europe? Just to know if you know a little bit Özlem. Several answers are possible, so you put it in the chat box. If A, it's the Basketball Champions League, it's the main competition, EuroLeague Women, Eurocup Women, men and women's continental qualifiers, the women's Eurobasket, and the first men's league in Turkey. So please put your answers in the chat box. Some people are Hande, it's normal that you know. So we have B, C, E, F, C, D, E, F. Okay. We have some good answers. I'm just waiting a little bit. So there was a trick because actually all the answers are right. She officiates in all these competitions, and she regularly officiates. And regarding the EuroLeague Women, she was the crew chief last Sunday for the final game. So she will talk about her experience and all these games that she regularly officiates, which are like more than 80 games per year with all these competitions. So Özlem, if you want to talk about your experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I am Özlem from Turkey. It's a great honor to be part of this project as a guest speaker. Thank you for this opportunity, first of all. Probably most of you know me from the last week's webinar. A brief introduction about myself. I played basketball at high school and university years. I graduated as a physical education teacher. I worked as a teacher for 19 years. At 2011, I became FIBA referee. Since then, I am traveling all around Europe. From 2017, I have been working as a professional referee in Turkey. And yeah, so when I was player at the last photo, it was from 1996. We were in the second league 4 years. And yes.
If you want to go to the slide before about the pictures, and maybe you can explain how you became a referee then.
Okay. When I was studying physical education teaching at university, apart from my education, I also attended all courses about basketball, such as coaching and refereeing. And after I graduated, I began to teach. I decided to try to refereeing in order not to break off from basketball. So by this way, I was able to stay on the court more actively than I expected, actually. I mean, normally players finish their careers after 30s, but in contrast, golden years of refereeing begin during those years. So when I first stepped on the court as a referee, the adrenaline I felt caused an irresistible desire to do this job. So I start like this. Like you said, regularly I'm in first league man in Europe and in Turkey. So in Europe, all competition I can officiating. About my progression, the beginning of my career was not easy. Actually, it was so slow because of, I can say, honesty, prejudgment, and distrust by authorities. And I had to make a few mistakes as possible and focus on only my area, which caused two things. Firstly, if I started with a mistake at the beginning of the game, I couldn't handle the rest of the game mentally. Secondly, I couldn't support or help my colleagues when it was necessary. However, when I got the opportunity, I did a good job and I got more games and chance in order to develop myself, to get more experience. So as you know, we need to be on the court like players. So refereeing without fear of making mistakes and taking responsibility can move us forward, and also our mistakes can turn into our experiences. And about the main obstacles that I can mention, actually the main obstacles is the thing I've just said. Mentally, I was not comfortable because I didn't have luxury to make mistakes. I wouldn't be able to find opportunity to correct them. Biologically, women tend to overthink in normal life than men. We are more sensitive, emotional, careful, and lie with details. This also the case on the court. This may cause us to be trapped by our mistakes. If we learn from our mistakes, our progress will become faster.
Yes, what you say is totally right, and female referees also need to have the opportunity, but like everyone needs to have opportunity to show what they can do, what they're able to do on the court. And about the mental part that you are talking about, it's true that now we have the help of mental preparators like Dubravka, who is our sports psychologist and has some programs to develop this. And also we have the manuals in the FIBA Ref app that talk about like the preparation and how to trust yourself and how to deal with the mistakes on the court. So I think it's very important that you talk about this. So thank you very much, Özlem. We will come to you later. Before we pass the floor to the next speaker, we also have your motto, Özlem, that we have, and that you're going to explain what is your motto and why you chose this one.
My motto is luck favors the prepared. So actually it's very clear message, I can say. When we get opportunity, we have to be ready. If we are not prepared, then we cannot use this chance. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Totally sense. So, yeah, we will talk also about the preparation of you all three. So now we will pass the floor. Thank you very much, Özlem, to Maj FORSBERG. Welcome, Maj.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Yeah. So before we move to your presentation, we will have a little poll also with you to know if people. Okay, so you will put also your answers in the chat box so we can see all the answers. So in what languages is Maj fluent? You can have several answers. So please put it in the chat box, please. Okay, I can see that some people say all of them. I'm already impressed, but I would be even more impressed, I must say. BDE. There are some people who know you, I think, Maj.
Yes, I know. It's nice,
all
actually.
Of them. There's a lot of people, all of them now. It's not like the first quiz. Okay. Okay, we have a kind of everything right now. So Danish, yes. English, yes. And what is the other one?
So the last one is Japanese, which is because I have a Japanese mother, so I'm a bit undercover Japanese, but yeah, just kind of a multicultural background. Okay,
great. That's very impressive and interesting. So yeah, you will talk a bit about your career and how you became a referee. Okay, we can see that, like for Özlem, you have different shirts, 3 different shirts. So you will explain us what the competitions you are officiating, and what was your progression as a referee, and why you became a referee.
So again, I'm excited to be here with everybody, have this opportunity. So my profession, I'm a full-time referee. I work in the women's NCAA Division I during the winter, which is from November through April, and transitioning into the WNBA from May to October. And as of 2008, I have been certified with FIBA as a national referee, and have had an opportunity to officiate at the highest international level. You can see here Eurobasket, World Cup. And something that is extremely exciting to me, especially with my background, is receiving that Olympic game nomination for Tokyo this summer is just extremely, extremely special to me. Just a quick background. I grew up in Denmark, which is a tiny country in Scandinavia, which is, predominantly everyone plays soccer. Ended up playing basketball there, and loved it so much that I wanted to go to the States to play at a university. And I was fortunate to receive a scholarship at the University of Hawaii, which was perfect since it sort of sat like in the middle of the Pacific between East and West, and would keep me close to my family in Japan, while still, again, getting my education and staying close to the game that I love so much. I honestly never thought that I would become a referee. I studied finance and computer science in college, and it was always my dream to go to Wall Street and be an investment banker. And so when I graduated in August of 2001, that was absolutely my plan. But we all know what happened the following month when tragedy struck in September 11th. And that pretty much meant that, there was a hiring freeze, especially in the financial sector. And as a foreign national, it was more or less impossible to get a visa. So of course I had to do plan B, which meant I ended up at a small company in Honolulu. I worked as an analyst and as a software developer over a number of years, but the benefit and the flexibility that you sort of get working from a small company allowed me to sort of pursue officiating, which was something that I had become interested in towards the end of my career playing. I knew that I did not want to coach, and I knew I was done playing, but I wanted to stay connected with the game somehow, and officiating sort of was a perfect opportunity to do that. I started refereeing just some high school games in Hawaii, and after a few weeks, someone was like, "Hey, you should go to California to attend a college camp just to kind of see what that is like." So, I hopped on a plane and went to Los Angeles and attended a Division I college camp for women, just sort of to see what it was all about. And somehow I happened to be at a time where they were really pushing women, especially former players, to get into officiating. And so after the camp was over, I ended up with a contract to referee Division I basketball. And that's sort of how my path started. And initially it was commuting back and forth between Honolulu and the mainland to referee, go over, referee a few games, come back to work, and so on and so forth. And in 2008, I was approached and received an opportunity to officiate in the WNBA. And I have just finished my 13th season. One of probably the only full-time female crew chief on staff. And around the same time, again, I got into the FIBA ranks as well. That's pretty much how I've progressed to kind of get to where I am today. I mean, it's a very crazy life. I probably travel over 250,000 miles a year and spend almost 300 nights on the road in hotels. So it's a career that I wouldn't want to change for anything else. but it certainly is also unorthodox, which, you know, you travel a bunch and I've really had an opportunity to see the world. Obviously my background from Asia, you know, there's a quote by Confucius that has always resonated with me. And it goes, "It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop." And I think it's so applicable to pretty much all areas of life, just in general, you know, from a big picture standpoint, but also, you know, it hits on the significance, you know, the importance of perseverance, patience, focus, and discipline, which certainly has helped me along the way. So again, super excited to be here. It's an honor, and if my experience, you know, can help motivate and inspire anyone, you know, I'm really honored to be part of this.
It's very inspiring and motivating to listen to your experience. Maybe you can share if you had some obstacles in the way in your progression, or if you are still facing some obstacles in your career.
I've been very fortunate, I think, and I think that, you know, the big thing for me has always been, you know, to strive rather than chase. You know, I think in this profession, we have to realize that we have very little control over how, you know, the turns that our careers will take, you know, and I've always really sought to focus on my work, and when the opportunity is given to me, to show up and do the very best that I can, and not worry so much about where I want to get to, and so forth. And that's just been sort of a nice approach to me that probably has, you know, minimized stress and frustrations. But yeah, I can't say that I've had a huge, you know, I've been fortunate. The biggest thing for us is probably injuries. I've been very fortunate so far to stay healthy and just kind of plug along.
Yeah, great. We will talk a little bit also about the preparation that you have, whether mentally, technically, physically, how you get prepared for the huge number of games that you have, because for you, I think it's between 130 and 150 per year. So how to cope with all this frenetic rhythm of games. So we will talk about it a little bit later. Thank you very much, Maj. And then we will move to Lauren HOLTKAMP-STERLING now, who is an NBA referee and a former FIBA referee. We are very happy to have her with us today. And like the others, we will have a little quiz about her to see if you know her.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, of course. Hello, Lauren. So let's see if the people know you a little bit, and what sports you played from a younger age, with several choices possible. So you have the choice, and you can choose between handball, swimming, ice skating, dance, curling, basketball, and volleyball. Okay, now maybe we can see the results. Okay, basketball was an easy one, and not everybody said basketball, which is surprising. Some people said curling. Okay, I'm surprised.
Oh, I wish.
You love curling? I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So no, just so give us the answers, Lauren.
Yeah, so swimming, dance, basketball, and volleyball. But I'll tell you, if I were to take up a sport now as an adult, it would be handball. I think I would be so curious to learn that sport. But I think this sports has always been such an important part of my life from a young age on. And it was really the way that within my family culture and where I grew up, it was a way to connect with people. And so that has been true for me moving forward. And I think it's just so, I think I'm so fortunate to make a living and make a life within the context of what it is to connect with people in sport.
Okay, yeah. No, and we will see your career, because it's really impressive about your playing career and officiating career. So I'll let you present your progression as a person and a referee.
Okay. So I played college basketball at Drury University, and it's a Division II in the United States, in the Midwest, and And it was really, that was a really formative experience for me, because they in the past had not had a women's program. They had a men's program for years. And in 2000, they started the inaugural women's program. And I had an opportunity to be part of that. Interestingly, though, I wasn't heavily recruited. And so I approached the coach who was starting this women's program and said, hey, I'd really like to be part of this with you guys. And so I went and tried out and earned a spot and earned a scholarship for my 4 years there. And, you know, it was just such an incredible experience to build a program with my teammates. We believed in each other and we showed up for each other. And within 4 years, we went from being a first-year program to competing for the national championship and within 4 years. So that was just really an incredible ride. And to be honest, I had teammates that were incredibly talented basketball players, and I contributed in the ways that I could, but it wasn't always in terms of scoring points or minutes on the floor. And so that was my first experience as a young adult of what it would mean to bring value to a group of people that I was working with that maybe, wasn't reflected in a stat sheet, but how to be a leader in other ways. So from there, I finished my playing career, and one of the fathers of a teammate invited me to a local high school officiating meeting. So just in like the cafeteria of a high school. And I knew that I wanted to stay connected to the game. And I thought it would be really fun. And I was right. Like it was really, really fun for me. I showed up there and there were 2 other women who were part of that high school association. I was the youngest, and they took me under their wing. And I think that model of what it is to make space for other people where maybe space isn't traditionally made, that has stuck with me. Their kindness and their inclusion at an early stage of my career. From there, I worked high school ball and really started out with doing youth basketball on Saturday mornings. And I moved to Atlanta, Georgia to pursue my second master's degree. And it turned out that I knew officiating was going to be part of sort of the matrix of my life, but I didn't anticipate that it would be at the forefront. So when I moved to Atlanta, I continued officiating. And it turned out that Atlanta's, within the United States, is one of the hotbeds of professional officiating. So there are a lot of NBA and WNBA referees there. And so I started going to summer leagues and showing up and just standing on the sidelines and watching other people work and asking questions. I then, continued working high school basketball, got advanced within the Division II ranks and worked the national championship in 2009, and then got hired into Division I conferences. And at the time, this was alongside the graduate degree that I was working on, and I was training as a chaplain. So I was spending time, obviously, in the classroom, but I was also working in different clinical settings, providing spiritual care to people in crisis moments, and then also refereeing. And so it was I look back on that time, and my time was pulled in a lot of different directions, but I think in some ways, all of those different things balanced each other really well. I continued to advance in Division I, and at that time, I had also met Dee Cantner, who is a very accomplished referee in so many ways, also in the FIBA ranks. And she introduced me to George Tolliver, he's an NBA referee at one time, and and a FIBA referee. And he was a supervisor of the D League and went to tryouts and got hired into the D League. And let's see, when was that? 2008. And I spent 6 seasons in the D League. So there was a time, I mean, Mai talked about, you know, spending 300 nights on the road, and she's working pretty much year round because the leagues, you know, women's college works happens in the winter, and then WNBA in the summer. And there was a time that I was working year round like that as well. So I was working NCAA, D League, and then I had gotten hired into the WNBA, and I was 6 seasons in the D League and 4 in the WNBA, and then I was hired into the NBA in 2014. I was FIBA certified, I believe, in 2008, and so that was also an incredible set of experiences that was happening alongside of my school and refereeing in the States. So I worked the university games in 2011 in Shenzhen, China. And that was really my first experience of what it is to work alongside global referees. And it was incredible. So here I am today. It's 2021, and I'm refereeing. This is my 7th season in the NBA.
For a long time, you were the only female referee in the NBA. Now you have been joined by others, and they are more and more insured, which is really great. But that's really nice. And talking about this, we will see a video later about more female officials on the courts. So now we will see the video right now.
In NBA history, and it's happened twice this year, that we have 2 female officials on this 3-person officiating crew. So congratulations to Lauren Holtkamp, her 5th year as an NBA official, and Ashley Moyer-Gleish, her 3rd season as an NBA referee. So 2 ladies for the 2nd time this year in an NBA game have worked the same game on the officiating crew. That is progress.
Getting it done. So's Jimmy Butler drawing the foul, getting back to the free throw line.
Yeah, so if you want to comment a little bit this video.
Yeah, this video you see, Ashley Moyer-Gleish, she is one of 5 of us women working in the NBA now. And this season, there was a really, I would say, you know, monumental moment that happened with the first two female crew. Natalie Sago and Jenna Schroeder worked together, and you know, and we said this is important that this is happening, and what's significant about it is that it will be the last time that it's significant in this league, because it will continue to become more of the norm moving forward, and we've seen that, right? So Jenna and Natalie worked together for the first 2 female crew, and then since that, this season, all of us sort of in tandem have experienced that together. And you know, that is something that was happening in the G League for years, the WNBA obviously for years, and I think that it's just the right time for this to be happening at all levels.
Yeah, I agree, and we see it also. Yeah, in the G League there were 3 female officials 2 years ago, and then in the BCL Americas you had 2 female referees for the semifinal. So yeah, it's moving forward, and there is a big progress, and everybody's happy about it because you are in the court, but because of the people are competent, and this is the most important thing. So we will see also your motto, and you will explain it.
Yeah, so my motto, both, I think on and off the court, I think this is why it's powerful, it works for me, is because do the next right thing. So on the court, you know, as referees, we talk about, and Özlem talked about this too, about what it is as a young referee to make a decision in a moment, and maybe it's the right one, or maybe there would have been a better decision to make, but it's time to move on now. Let's do the next thing, the next play. And I think it's so similar off the court, and what it is to create a life that, and Maj mentioned this about the pacing of what it is to work so many games in a year and figure out how that fits with who you want to be in the world. And those answers aren't always clear. And so for me, if I can narrow it down and simplify it and say, well, what's the next right thing to do, both for my family, for my crew, for the NBA, for my colleagues, for myself, that I found it to be really effective.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Now we will have a last quiz, group quiz. So this is a little quiz about our guests before we move to the question and answers. We have some questions that came in the box, so please feel free to add questions that we will address to the speakers. So the quiz a little bit about other things than basketball, but who is an avid kite surfer between Özlem, Maj, and Lauren? Who is also an artist, painting, collage, and ceramics? And who is married to another referee and has a daughter? So if you want to answer, and then we will see the results. Okay, so who is an avid kite surfer? It's Maj. So the answer is okay. We saw the sports that Lauren is practicing, but Özlem does tennis. So there was a little trick. Özlem is not an artist unless I don't know, but maybe you are, Özlem, but no, it's Lauren who is an artist in painting, collage, and ceramics. And who is married to a referee and has a 2-year-old daughter? It is Lauren. And she's married to a NBA referee. So then, yes, Lauren, if you can talk about this, because there are a lot of people who are really interested to know how you can cope with the family life and officiating, and how is it to be a top-level referee and being a mother.
It's such a joy. It really is such a joy to be a mother, and to be able to continue my career and sort of and really just honor the work that's happened before she joined our family. I would say, like, for people who ask me how you do it, we're figuring it out. She'll be 2 in June, and I have so much help. We've got an incredible nanny who has been with us since Stone was 6 months old. My daughter's name is Stone. Since she was 6 months old, and she lives with us, and I could not do what I'm doing without the support and help of other people. And that has been, that's been a new experience for me about what it is to ask for help, balancing both profession and personal life. But I just get an incredible amount of joy from doing both. So.
Great. And how did you do when you were pregnant to remain active and involved in basketball?
Yeah. So I hired a personal trainer to help me she was pregnant at the time that we trained together also, and she was pregnant with her 6th child. So I was like, look, this is the first time I'm going through this. I need an expert. I need somebody who can sort of guide the way. And so I trained with her up until I was able to train with her up until I was 8 months pregnant. So that was wonderful, both for my physical and mental health. I was also in rehab though for my knee because I had torn my ACL in 2018. So I was simultaneously going through physical therapy to recover from an ACL surgery, as well as training with this trainer and moving through my pregnancy. So it can be done, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, we see because you're on the court, but I know that a lot of people are wondering how how to do to remain active during the pregnancy, and how to come back on the court physically, mentally, and everything. And the key is to have some help, to have trainers and help, and yeah, to have people around.
And I would say, yeah, Arlie, that's right on. And I would say though that the help that you want is help that has expertise in what it is to come back postpartum, because it is very, you know, as an athlete, I mean, I shared this, sports have always been part of my life. So athletics, I know what that is to train and prepare, and it is very different to do that after giving birth. And so I would say to people who are looking, get people who are experts in what it is to come back from that, because it is different.
Okay, noted. Thank you very much. If we come to the preparation, maybe Özlem, you can and Maj, you can also explain. Okay, not about the pregnancy, but how you remain prepared and physically on the top during the season and of the season too. Özlem, if you want to start.
Okay. Regularly, I'm also using personal trainer with me, and also for mental preparation, I am also using Dubravka actually. Okay, nowadays everybody can reach from IRF Academy in the library. It's very good. When I was young, there was no one about it actually, and we are so lucky. Thank you, and I appreciate it for this. So analyzing the teams with my colleagues time to time, it requires really tough time actually. So I'm also officiating different leagues, so it's a little bit more detailed for me, but I'm doing my best about it. I am making notes, and I'm also following the website. That's my preparation. Mentally and physically, it's very important.
Okay, thank you. Maj?
The best advice that I can give is don't get out of shape. So that's sort of been my thing, is to just continue, not take time off. You know, if I do, it's maybe like a couple of days, but I know that once you sort of let yourself go, it's amazing how hard it is to get into shape and how easier it is to get out of shape. So I'm a pretty active person in general. I love to be outdoors, move at a certain pace. I'm a big golfer. I've recently become obsessed with golf. And so when I go out and play, I will actually play speed golf. So I will hit the ball and I will just run around on the golf course, chasing that thing. So I think for me, it's just, you know, always being active and not sort of fall into that sedentary, you know, trap that is really hard to get out of. And I think, you know, people say like your body, you know, how do you work year round? But I think it's actually an advantage that your body is constantly at a certain, you know, level of stress, you know, and as long as you just take care of yourself, you know, make sure you stretch and you listen, make sure that you don't kind of overdo it. I think that that's sort of a really good approach. You know, the thing for me, again, I transition between different rule sets. And so obviously between NCAA and WNBA, I think I focus a lot on the rules, because I think, you know, that is pretty much the holy grail of what we do, right? The rules knowledge, being able to, you know, to properly adjudicate plays. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. And I would say transitioning from the States to Europe is always sort of the challenge, because optically, you know, we're on two different continents. So what is normal behavior and what looks sort of uniform over here is completely different in Europe. So it's actually one of the things that I truly enjoy about the opportunity to officiate internationally is sort of the challenge for me to adapt, right? You are the foreign, you know, the person from, especially when I go to, for instance, Eurobasket, I'm the one from America that comes into a very homogenous, like European group that all know what they're doing. They're on point, right? and then I have to try to sort of get in there and try to blend in and not sort of end up on the videos every morning in the classroom sessions, So that's sort of the challenge that I enjoy. It kind of keeps you on your toes. You're constantly, adapting. And I think that's one of the really neat parts about officiating in different leagues throughout the world.
Okay. And so you see that you have a lot of preparation all the time. And what are your tips to improve and to improve and to get to the highest level as a referee?
Right. So I've always sort of been like more of an internal person. And I think for me, like my mindset is the most critical I is my own. So I'm constantly, and I think that, that's sort of an occupational hazard of our profession, right? We judge for a living, which is kind of a joke, right? Because to judge is usually perceived as a negative. But to me, I always try to identify, my weaknesses. Like, when I watch tape, like I'm extremely critical. Like I don't like to wait for someone else to point out something that I do that I could improve, if that makes sense. So it's just like an internal, like a continual process of just being very, very critical, obviously without beating yourself up, because that's not, that's not very productive. But that would be my thing, don't rest on not rest on your laurels, but it can be easy to say, hey, I've made it to a certain level and just relax. But trust me, there are always people that are coming up behind, right? And the challenge is to continuously, stay at the top of what you do.
Yeah, totally right. And you, Özlem, what are your tips to reach the highest level, to become to officiate in the EuroLeague final game like last Sunday?
I said very good speech about it actually. But classically, I can say hardworking and never give up. Of course, even in the worst moment in your referee life, working hard and being patient for tough moments, being brave with self-confidence, I can say. If you stuck and get angry about yourself during the game, not to lose your poker face, I can say.
Yeah. And you, Lauren, do you have any tips to reach the level where you are now? How to make it to the NBA?
I think in some ways we've been talking about, when we shared our timelines about where each of us started and progressed and find ourselves now. I think it's easy to assume that this process is linear, that you just start at point A and you move B, C, D, and keep moving in line in that way. But I would challenge all of us to think about it as more of a circular process. So rather than thinking I'm advancing from A to B to C, and I believe that we're circling back, sort of spiraling forward, right? So you're always kind of circling back to revisit the things that that have worked for you. So as an example, as a young referee, first getting started, I knew studying the rules and my fitness was important to be able to keep up with the speed of the game, and then adjudicate the rules, as Maj talked about, with the holy grail of what we do. And that has, as I've moved forward and progressed, I'm always circling back to those fundamentals that that were important when I started, and I may be a little, I'm better at them the more that I do them, but I'm never leaving them behind. And so I would say, rather than thinking about your journey as a linear one, where you start at point A and point B and sort of advance and leave behind what you've done, you're taking all of that with you and you're circling back as you spiral forward.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And do you have any and also mental preparation, like specific mental preparation?
Yeah, so we within the culture of NBA refereeing, it's it's important for us to have structure to our days. So and that structure, each referee is unique in terms of their timing, but I think the pieces of the structure are the same for most of us, which is, you know, I get up about the same time every day, check in with my family, see how things are going, and then I get to work. And so I want to work out that day. I want to get moving, get outdoors. I think the healthier and happier that we are, the better that we perform. And so for me, I've got to get outside. I can't be in a hotel constantly. So get some fresh air and do some rule study. We have a day of game meeting that we have, and a big part of preparation for the game is preparing for that day of game meeting as well. So knowing our personnel, if any important plays have happened recently that bring up questions about how to handle it, we discuss those. And then I have a period of rest in the afternoon where I mute my phone and I'm not available to anybody. And it can be as short as, 20 minutes. But I do think that's important to sort of just recalibrate. And then when I go to the game, I'm refreshed and ready to work. But a majority of my tape work will happen after the game. So rather than load up on a ton of tape work the day of the game, I'll do my tape work after the game and the following day.
Great, very interesting. And I have a question because, okay, it's you talked about your routine and before the game, but how many games do you officiate during a season?
Yeah, this season is different. Our season is compressed, and we have, it's very different. But it's on average, we work around 60 games in an NBA season.
Okay. Because Mike said about like 130 and Özlem 80. So, but there was a question also by you, how many games you officiate per season, and it's quite with all the travels and everything. So. Do you still have some dreams as a referee? Now we talk about the tips to reach the highest level and what's next, some things that you want to achieve.
Well, I'm going to fall back on my motto here, which is do the next right thing. And for me right now, it is about finishing this season healthy and safe. We're operating in a challenging circumstance. And so my immediate next right thing is to follow safety protocols and get through this season as healthy and safe as possible. On a larger scale, a professional goal that I have for myself would be to work the playoffs. And for me, that would mean that it would be a marker that I am contributing to this league in a meaningful way.
Okay, great. Let's see with Mai also. What are your goals or your dreams as a referee?
So I never really I've never really been one to say, oh, in 5 years I want to be here, or I want to do this, I want to do that. Again, because I feel like focusing externally rather than internally has never really been my style. Like I've always felt like, if I want to, and I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but I just want to see, if I put in the work and I dedicate myself, where I can get to. I guess the destination is sort of secondary, if that makes sense. But with that being said, once I entered the FIBA realm and sort of had a little look into, obviously, continental championships, world championships, which is the biggest event, obviously, for our sport. But, to be on that biggest stage, the Olympics, that, now that it's actually, hopefully the future is uncertain, obviously, currently in the pandemic, but with that, coming to fruition potentially in a few months, like that is really starting to hit me, sort of the ramifications of that. And then especially, again, being in my mother country of Japan, which is a place that I love, that is so dear to me. I'm so excited, for the world to be able to really get a look into that. So I think that's probably, you know, that would probably be the one for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Özlem, do you still have a goal and
Yes, of course. Okay, from 2017, I've been working as a professional referee, and last year of when I was teacher, it was too hard to do this job, officiating and teaching, and I was willing just for basketball officiating, and actually my dream came true, and I am living in my dream right now. And as long as my health allows, I want to be able to do this job, of course. So yes.
Great, thank you. There is a question for Mai. What is for you the difference, main difference between WNBA and FIBA and European female basketball?
Oh, well, everything probably. I think the biggest thing is, like, to me, the WNBA is by far the most challenging game to officiate. And I know, Lauren, you had a little stint, you know, a number of years there as well. But it is truly the best talent from around the world, including the top players from Europe, that compete in a very short, condensed season. And the games are extremely intense and challenging. So I would say just the athleticism, the speed, just the skill level is extremely high. Again, obviously in America, we have figured out that offense sells tickets, right? So our rule set is sort of tailored in that way, where we're very focused on freedom of movement, just allowing the athletes to really move. And we have a defensive 3-second rule that really opens up the paint. So, that allows for a lot of plays to the basket, which obviously, puts the referees in sort of a precarious position, because you have to really be able to make these decisions, very, very consistently. Europe is a completely different thing. I feel like, to me, I feel like European basketball is very much about teamwork. I feel like in America, we have more individual performances. You have a star that you sort of isolate and they get to sort of go one-on-one. Whereas I feel like in Europe, it's, and that's the beauty of women's basketball is the ability of a team to truly, be on the same page and work together to achieve these scoring opportunities, right? So I think that's probably the biggest thing, where there's a lot of offensive movement and plays that are executed in Europe, whereas I feel like in the WNBA, it's more one-on-one matchups, one-on-one basketball.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we have another question that is not related to this, but for Lauren, a question about the vision of the people. Did it change since there are more female referees in the NBA? And if you think that the people's mind has changed about having females on the court, if you facing stereotypes, or you have faced stereotypes, what is now the evolution of the opinion about females on the court?
I think we're all evolving. I think it's a process. But I know without being there and doing the work, we aren't, that evolution wouldn't press forward. Like, we have to be there doing the work in order to press the progress. So do I think that we still face barriers to that in terms of perception and acceptance? Absolutely. And I think that's why it's important to keep showing up and keep doing the work.
And you personally, how do you cope with this?
I take a great deal of meaning about what it is to show up in that space and be part of what it is to move our profession forward in that way. And I also have a few people that that I am able to talk with that are not involved in refereeing, and so they sort of have the benefit of perspective that that can be challenging to keep when you're in the thick of it. And so I've got some trusted, one or two trusted people that I'm able to lean on when I need to. And that's been really critical for me. And I've really put the time and energy into, into maintaining those relationships because it's just really healthy for me in moving, professionally and personally.
Okay. And okay, I will ask the same question to Mai, if she still faces barriers and how she deals with it, and Özlem, of course.
It's I feel fortunate, like I think in America we are very much, and especially in women's basketball, I feel like there's very much it's common to see a woman on a game, right? I think in the WNBA, we almost always have at least one female on each crew. And sometimes, we'll have 3 women and players and coaches will actually comment on that. So I do know that it's a little unusual to see all women. But I would say barriers. I think when I go internationally, that's where I feel it more. I think gender roles are much more perpetuated in other cultures, probably, where, I feel like sometimes it's very hard for a man to deal with the feeling of a woman telling him no, if that makes sense. And I think that that's sort of, something that I truly love about officiating is we sort of get a front row seat or, to experiment with learning about people, learning about human psychology. You can choose to engage or not. You're constantly faced with an opportunity to diffuse a conflict. You can escalate a conflict by, not saying the right thing, not doing the right thing. But, I think it's just more of a, I try not to think so much in stereotypes. I try to think more about, like, for me, for my personality, the experiences that I've had, you look back at one of my pictures, I'm standing next to Lambier, and maybe a challenge that I have is that I'm short. At least that's what people tell me that I am. He's a very towering man. And even in the WNBA, like sometimes when I have to toss the ball, and Brittany Griner is standing next to me, I have to look.
Yeah, but you toss it well. We saw in the picture when it was
so the secret is
really high.
Toss it to the ceiling and then you get out of there. I think it's just kind of neat. Like, you can talk about obstacles, but to me, it's sort of more like a challenge. I don't ever want to look at something and say, oh, that's going to hold me back, or I'm never going to have an opportunity because of X, Y, Z. There's always a way. You can always, like a ninja, that's sort of a thing that, going back to my Japanese background, like I just love being able to adapt and navigate, whatever is thrown at you, because, with proper foundation and with the training that we rely on, you have the tools. It's just a matter of you putting them to use, right, at the right times. And
talking about gender, do you have some camps dedicated for female referees in the USA, or it's camps for the training?
We have, I believe we used to have in the WNBA, we used to have a women's camp specifically, but I think they did away with that because it's a very fine line to me. I think initially it's important to identify the talent and support women and sort of like give them as much confidence as you can. But once you get to a certain point, I think once you separate women from men, it's actually a disadvantage. You're creating a sort of a demarcating line between the genders, as opposed to, I think more so than the women accepting and, you know, sort of feeling. I think other people have to see, have to become, you know, it has to become normalized to see a woman do a job that's generally, you know, has historically been a man's job. And I think that that's where we need to focus on, right? And, you know, the NBA is doing a fantastic job in that sense. Like the more often the fans, the coaches, the players are exposed to, you know, a woman on the court, eventually it's going to be, okay, this is not so crazy. Or, you know, they can look at Lauren and see she's a mother, right? So now there's that relatability thing. You know, like players have sisters, they have mothers, you know, and I think it's sort of a beautiful thing. You know, I think it's sort of evolving our profession from being, you know, we used to be law enforcement, right? We would just show up, write tickets and throw people in jail, right? That used to sort of be the stereotype of what an official would do. Whereas I think that humanizing us, right? Another experience that I had, we were just in the bubble for the WNBA season, which was about 3 months in Florida last season. And we ended up housed in the same hotel as the players and the coaches. The players, coaches, referees in the same hotel, using the same facilities. And initially, this is going to be a disaster. And we did have some moments, you know, we did have some run-ins with coaches and with players. But, you know, after it was all said and done, and it was a stressful environment for everybody, right? So we were all sort of on the same page, like, look, we just got to make the best of it. We're stuck here. We got to get through the season and get a champion. And we just need to make the best of it. And I think, honestly, looking back, it was probably one of the best experiences to be able to be in the food line for the restaurant behind a coach or behind a player, you know, being able to just, for them to see us as humans, right? To see that, you know, we, you know, like whether we go swimming in the pool or like we're regular people. And I think once, you know, people start understanding that, you just really develop a relationship of trust and, you know, that really gets you to a better place, you know, whether it's with coaches and players, so that you can actually cooperate and pursue the same goal, right? Which is to have a great game, you know, that's fair for everybody. Everyone is relaxed and just trust, you know, that things are taken care of and they can just focus on just, you know, playing the game, you know, and competing. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing. It's just humanizing us as referees.
Yeah.
And, you know, in society, you know, we have men, we have women, right? So I think it's a really positive time now. So I would say no dedicated women's this, or, you know, all men, all women. I think we should intermingle. And, you know, I think that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, thank you very much. And also about the visibility, it's what you said and Lauren said too. It's what we try to work on is like the more you see the female on the court, the more it will become normal, and there will not be any comments like, oh, we have 2 female officials, 3 female officials on the court today. It will just be normal. And
right.
and this is great. And I think we're going to the right direction.
Right.
Thank you. And Özlem, so what about youth?
Okay.
Stereotypes, or do you feel another behavior from the coaches or the players as a female referee on the court, or there is no difference? You don't feel it?
At the beginning, yes, there was actually. But okay, after 1 or 2 years, it become normal. So, and also it's about broadcast, because let's say 15 years ago, only 1 or 2 games was on TV. So the people didn't get used actually. And when it changed, agreement with the federation and one TV channel, all the games was, still on TV. And so it's also helpful for us. But also I want to mention about the main difference after I started my international career was that in Turkey I was officiating only Super League men, first division, and in FIBA I reached highest level, but only in women competition. It happened till 2017. And okay, I officiate EuroLeague Women, Euro Cup Women, and Eurobasket Women, World Cup Women also. Okay, but it took me years to get my first nomination in men's competition in FIBA. So it was not easy, but I was patient actually. When I started also as a professional referee, it changed everything in a good way for me. And actually, I would like to consider it as a referee through my ability, performance on the court, not by the fact that I am a woman. About the camps, also I agree to Maj. Actually, we don't need just for women camps, but we also need involve the referee camp. If women can get men's game in youth competition, both players and our men colleagues can get used to this and get progress together. This is my idea. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going nearly to the end of the session. Time goes very fast. So one last question about what do you think that FIBA and I mean all the federations or leagues can do to support female officiating in general? Özlem?
Honestly, I'm proud of my country about female officials. There is a really good progress in terms of female referees in Turkey. The federation has supported and given opportunities to young referees and still doing. For example, my boss, Mr. Recep Ankaralı, who has been my role model, he gave me big chances for further achievement. And I used that chance for progress, and this opened the doors to me and the ones coming forward. Actually, we should consider this evaluation country by country. Generally speaking, in Europe, recently it's been much more better, but it's quite clear that they are starting to get more responsibility and more chance. We just got for nomination for the Women Eurobasket, and there are 32 referees, and 12 of them are female referees. Thank you to FIBA Europe department.
15. There are even more, actually.
My mistake. So thank you for this for FIBA Europe department, and also Mr. Nakic for this. And it's also very nice that FIBA started women project. Okay, exactly. Women in basketball, Carl said just at the beginning. So I need to say big thanks to Carl, Chantal, Nadine, and also to you, Armando, all the rest who are behind. So very appreciating. We were rating this, I can say.
Yeah, it's a teamwork, and we will have more female licensed referees, more female during the summer competitions nominated. That's great. And Maj and Lauren also, what do you think that leagues, federations, FIBA can do to retain and train and make the more female officials and the improvement about this?
Briefly, I would say it's really important to have women who are in the room when decisions are being made and can share what it is to, what it is to do the work in a space that is gendered. I mean, we live in a gendered, that is a reality. And so I think you need anybody who is serious about true inclusion. That inclusion starts at the top and listening and including women in the decision making.
Right, thank you. Maj?
I think for me, it's just like recognizing, I just think culturally or, in society, women has always been, again, assigned gender roles, right? And I think what I notice the most, and especially like working on crews, if it's all female or all male, I think actually that the crew works the best together when it's a combination, right? And I think just identifying that women, you know, bring something to the table, right? I think, you know, Özlem pointed out a little bit earlier, but I think like we have an ability to be more empathetic, you know, to sort of be big picture, and this is of course, you know, just generally speaking, you know, have less of an ego. So I just think that women bring some really nice things, you know, to the dynamic. And I think identifying that and valuing that, you know, not just like, you know, how fast can you run up the court, you know, like those, you know, things that are just, you know, basic metrics, but more the intangible things that women bring, right? And I think that, you know, they said behind every man is behind every great man is a smart woman, right? I think that's sort of what we need to think about, you know, that it isn't all about, you know, just stronger, faster, better. It's about, you know, officiating is a very interesting profession, right? We don't have to go out and throw the ball a certain distance or, you know, be able to hit a target. Like it's really a very unique set of skills that come together, you know, between three people to be successful. And I think that you know, being behind this initiative really is able to bring some of these things, you know, bring some of these things up and make people realize that, you know what, we actually do have a lot of resources, right? If we put us together. Yeah. So
Totally. Thank you, Maj. So it's already time to close. So before we close this webinar, Maj, do you have a last word you want to address to the people?
Nothing specific. Again, like I said, you know, I'm a firm believer of, you know, if there are other people watching, especially women, you know, that want to do this. I sort of love the another quote that's like, I'll take the stairs so someone behind me can take the elevator. So if there's anything that I can do or help or, you know, please feel free to reach out. You know, I've met a lot of you on the webinar here through tournaments, but I think it's, you know, especially with WhatsApp and with, you know, this globalization of, you know, we communicate, right? I think, you know, if we can continue to sort of collaborate with each other and stay in touch, right? Even though we're not immediately in a tournament, but stay in touch throughout the year. And I think that that's something that, you know, I hope that that we can continue and even, you know, continue to do in the future. So.
Thank you, Maj. Thank you very much. Özlem?
As I said at the beginning, it was a big pleasure on my side, and thank you very much. And like Maj said, we can stay together, and with emails or messages, we can solve some problems. Just keep in touch, stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Özlem. And Lauren?
I would just say go forth and be good to one another. Be good to yourselves, be good to the game, and be good to one another. And take good care. And thank you for including me in this today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to have you, to have Maj and Özlem. Really a great pleasure. Thank you very much. Now we will move to our usual poll about, just to have your feedback about the session so that we can improve all the time. I mean, I can see we still have some questions in the Q&A box and in the chat box. I'm sorry, we cannot address all of them because it's time, but we could talk forever with these wonderful ladies. But now we have to end the session. Okay, great. So mostly positive feedback. Thank you very much. So now we'll see. This is our next webinar. Will be Monday, 3rd of May, the Monday special webinar. So it's open to everybody again, a very interesting one. And our next webinar about women in officiating will be the Thursday, 13th of May. And we will meet all together again. So if you have any questions about the webinar, any comments, any suggestion, please feel free to send us an email or to send me an email. So this is the email address, refereeing at fiba.basketball if you have any comments. And that's it. So again, thank you very much for your participation. Thank you. A big thanks to our speakers today. It was really passionate, and I hope that everybody now is full of motivation and inspiration to work and reach the next level. Thank you very much, and see you next month. Bye bye.